All right, so I call to order the March 26, 2025 regular board meeting pursuant to Idaho Code Sections 33506 and 33510. Can the clerk determine if a quorum is present, please?
There are 5 trustees in attendance. A quorum is present.
Okay, we're moving on to approval of the agenda. There are no additions to the agenda, so look good? Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes.
I'll move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District Number 281 hereby approves the minutes for the revised budget hearing and regular board meeting February 26, 2025, and the special board meeting for executive session March 7, 2025.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. So now we move on to good news announcements or presentations. Real quick, is there any good news from anybody?
Oh, I had the spelling bee stuff.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. Sorry. Forgot about that. But we had a winner at each grade, and then our middle school contestant won third, I think it was. And I inadvertently discovered that our McDonald contestant came in fourth. So that was Mason Richards.
Okay, great. So congratulations to them.
Yeah. And it was Matt Talbot Williams, the 7th grader at Moscow Middle School, who came in third overall for their region.
Okay.
But there were 4 different winners at the 4 different schools.
Spelling bee, correct?
Yeah. Spelling.
Okay, great. Any other? All right, so move on to presentation. Brian Smith, PCR High School and District Coordinator for Career Tech.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. I have 2 little presentations so you can see both sides of my position, but to start here, I'll present on Paradise Creek. This is our local choice high school, as you know, serves all of Layton County, and with this year's focus at board meetings, Sean had asked us to target something specific about your program to really highlight. And I mean, I could talk about our kids all day long, but as I was working with my staff, we ended up, and we wanted to showcase to you all the unique course offerings, challenges, and solutions we've created at PCR. And what happened and manifested is this becomes a true celebration of 3 incredible educators that teach in that building. So to begin, at PCR, we have some unique obstacles. So there are only 3 teachers. We're that group piled inside of all those kids graduating. 3 teachers with 2 classrooms. So that alone, the 3 and 2 piece, means that we shuffle constantly. If you ever come over to have a meeting with us, it could be in an office, a classroom, a bathroom, I don't know. We're gonna find a place to meet. But we have certain course deficits. What I mean by that is that when students come to us, often they're missing pieces of their instruction. It never rolls its way out to say, I just stopped my sophomore year and I'll pick right up at junior year. Often we have students that have pieces and bits that have been passed and not passed. It makes it really unique to schedule for every student to get those deficits in a timely manner so we can graduate on time. And then gaps in learning. It's a massive piece we face. We have courses for credit that we want to offer to be able to graduate, but when a student comes to us, we have to meet them where they are at. So it would be very typical inside of one course to have a student that functions close to a 5th grade performance level and another performs maybe at an 11th or 12th grade performance level. And that could be a variety of measures. It could be that they haven't been in a school setting for 2 to 3 years. It could be adverse areas that affected the way the learner moves, but it doesn't matter. We're going to welcome into that class and we're going to find success. And finally, I want to stress before I move forward, it's a 9-week course program. There's 4 classes for every student every 9 weeks. The classes meet for 110 minutes, so what we deliver for an Algebra 1 class is the exact same amount of standards as a traditional algebra class at Moscow High School, but it's truncated into 9 weeks. So that means it's 110 minutes of go, go, go with high rigor expectations for these students. So I'm going to showcase it in parts. I want to start with maths. We utilize an integrated math system, so integrated meaning algebra and geometry integrated together over a series of 5 to 6 courses. We find this works best for the gaps. I have a little bit of algebra, a little bit of geometry. What that means for our teacher, Matt Pollard, is he kind of dives into the beginning of that content and feels the room out to see, I need to spend more time in the algebra because majority is needed, or in the geometry. This is the area of most gaps that our students come in at Paradise Creek. Unequivocally, without a doubt, math is the one with the most gaps. And this is from all of Latah County. On top of that, we offer a principles course. Principles is sort of the prelude to be able to get into our integrated system. I want to stress here right now, this is why we only accept sophomores and up. It's one math teacher. We simply do not have the time, space, or capacity to offer a math that would come before algebra. Principles is not a pre-algebra course. Principles is a math elective course to help find gaps and areas of need so they can get into that integrated system. And then we also offer statistics and sometimes dual credit Math 143 even. That means that Matt in one class here has 6 students in integrated 1A, and I might have 3 in statistics, and we're all in the same period at the same time. What does that look like? It looks like Matt teaching with his hair on fire. He's moving here, then release, then moving here, giving feedback, pulling in assistance from our paraprofessionals. It is an active math room. A lot of movement. It's pretty incredible to watch it happen. As we move through there, I want to highlight, we use a screener program at the beginning, middle, and end of the year to test how our students are growing in essential skills. And I'm so happy to announce 74% of our students this January were at the 61st percentile or higher for that integrated 1A math course. This is tremendous. It's every single learner at Paradise Creek. So to have 74 be at that metric, it speaks volumes about Matt and what he's accomplishing in that math process. And I got to give a shout out to Ruby Jackson, our title teacher who often co-teaches with Matt, and Jim, our paraprofessional who is in boots on the ground in that math content, working day to day. So let's bump over to English and history. This is where it starts getting really long. The amount of courses that Paul teaches, we offer all Englishes 10 through 12 of course, but this also includes senior research paper and then any and all needed English electives. So Paul has offered everything from creative writing and theater to nonfiction expose. We've even gone down to Socratic seminar as our English elective. Again, one teacher. So it can often be, Paul, what do you got in you? We got 9 weeks, we have this many kids, and we need the English credit. What I want to stress though is in the same class are all of those grades. So I might have a senior here where it's the last English class they'll have right next to a sophomore. And our teachers in time differentiate expectations so they match the specific standards of each grade level. He also teaches all of our US history, all of our government, all of our econ, and all of our speech classes. Again, one person that covers that span of coursework. I want to give a big highlight. We've recently had some really neat awards. We had a student that got a creative writing award down at LCSU and was invited. And we did a focus with our Latah County Human Rights Council and the MLK contest. And we had another award through that piece through writing and artwork. It's fantastic. But what makes these fun is Paul really pushes inside the idea of literacy circles and student voice. Because we're a smaller school, our classrooms, all the desks face each other because the conversations happen that way. And it's really brilliant to watch a 19-year-old help guide a conversation with a 15-year-old about the same text. We're reading Cicero right now. It's really exciting. There's 2 chapters left, and it's palpable with the excitement. I mean, literally had a student shaking the book at me today. Do you know what happens at the end? I do, man, but you are going to get there yourself. We do a lot of guest speakers, and I want to shout out to, we do quite a bit with the community. We do community-connected courses because we want our PCR students to interact with the professionals that are represented. It might look like mock legislation, where we get a visit with legislators, learn about the bill processing. I got to play governor last week, which was really fun. Watch out. I kind of felt good doing it, Sean. And we also run mock elections. This is League of Women Voters, who always invite us into their various seminars and mock work. We have a lot of guest speakers to come in, so our students can see that humanities is a flourishing profession outside of the school classroom. So this was us casting our votes this year. These are great. 58% of our students are at the 61st percentile or higher based on where they should be at their grade level by the middle of this year. Clearly, this is an area, as the expectations grow with age, reading can be very difficult. So this is always an area that we're pushing. But I want to do here, 66% of those students grew by 5 or more percentile points from fall to spring. That's a huge amount of students. And when you're that old, to grow 5 percentile points in about 3 months is pretty astronomical. And I really praise Paul because it's constant text exposure. We might go through 2 or 3 novels in one 9-week period. So it's pretty incredible to watch that. This, however, 91% of our students are the 61st percentile or higher in language skills. This is both understanding written and navigating, but it's grammar and other aspects of syntax around language. This has been a big focus of our school because this is where professional writing takes a big play. Understanding what you read, being able to communicate through words. So to have 91% of our students that way is fantastic, with 83% of 10th and 11th graders growing from fall to spring this year. So shout out to Paul and all that humanities work. Oh man, if you've been to PCR, hopefully you've been to part of our sciences. This is that same guy, Matt, with all that math stuff. This is the same guy. So our line of sciences, a complete series of chemistry, biology, physics, forensics. I have to say with forensics, this is a course that really should be entertained at a higher level. It is an immediate attraction for students. Forensics is fascinating. It infuses many scientific standards and a multitude of labs, and it really gets me to sign some very strange POs for the stuff that Matt needs for this course. I'm right, Jen. Entomology, forestry, ecology, environmental science, and computer science. One teacher that prepares entire courses around all these topics, plus the maths. If you know about PCR, we are about leaving the building. We are hands-on. Almost all of this is lab-based, and I would argue that 50 to 60% of the course is lab-focused. Standing up, performing labs, investigating. This is us out at the Palouse Divide doing snow science, where we dug into 4, 5, some places 6 feet of snow to explore the effects of snowfall and climate change. And we did do like a little bit of sledding after that because they earned it really well. But just yesterday, I came back from a meeting and I couldn't find our science class anywhere. That's because the ecology class walked down the hill to Paradise Creek because Matt kind of got tired of showing the slide version of it. And he said, we are 3 minutes away from the actual version of it. Let's just go walk down there. So I really want to shout out, our sciences is one of the most thriving areas of that building. Very proud of the work conducted there. Electives are unique. I want to stress the fact that when you interview for Paradise, we offer no elective other than academic strategies. Just 3 teachers. Academic strategies you might know as a study hall. We definitely use part of it to teach study habits, but our Title I teacher is the teacher of this course, and we use it as the I wish they still taught that in high school class. We meet with parents every year, students every year, and industry partners and say, what do our kids need to know before they graduate? Here's a list of part of it. Culinary skills. If you've seen our Facebook page this quarter, Ruby Jackson has developed an unbelievable culinary course. Partnered with the Family Consumer Science Department of U of I. We go every Wednesday where their master's students in nutrition teach our students about nutritional cooking and preparation. We've also been to the Idaho Food Bank, where we volunteered and taught down there. We had the Nez Perce tribe come to our school to talk about their relationship with salmon. And then we ended at Myelina, where we got a complete day doing hospitality and another day back in the kitchen making pizza. And if you know me, that is my favorite unit when we're doing cooking, because I seem to benefit a lot from the instruction here. This is all driven by that teacher. She's the one that makes those community connections. She's the one that finds funding and ways to make this. On top of that, this class covers personal finance, personal health, self-defense, leadership, where we all go out in the community with a leadership task to improve Moscow, fine arts, which has been tremendous, yearbook, and then the students said they want to learn Japanese. So what do? You call U of I and you say, do you have a professor in Japanese? They do. And we said, what do you think about coming a couple times to our school? And she said, how about I come 3 times a week for 8 weeks? And we learn Japanese at Paradise Creek. It's just unbelievable. So this is what our electives turn out. And it really is all life skills here. I do have a lot of fun with this one, by the way, the self-defense one. On top of that senior project, this is a requirement to graduate, but I have to stress that at Paradise, this is the catapult to the next level of living. This is where you want to go after graduation. So every senior is partner with an industry partner where they do a multitude of hours outside of school learning about a skill. It's a ton of research. We rent out the 1912 building for these final presentations just this fall. Gritman, U of I, LCSC, Knit Architecture, Fish and Game, Moscow Auto, Leta Historical Society, and Doceo Center are some of our partners. It's really incredible because here our students got to work at Gritman, practice with patients, with real hands-on experience. With LCSC, we're actually going down to campus to learn the skills around different career trades. This is a big deal, and it's often that last carrot to push our kids towards that graduation. So if you ever get a chance, I'll make sure to invite you all to see some of these presentations, because this kiddo right here is finishing our CNA course with the district and is headed to LCSC to become a nurse. And it was all spawned by the senior project opportunity. And that is Ruby, that same lady that did all those other classes and also sits in all of her math classes, the same one. Finally, as part of it, we utilize dual credit on a regular basis at PCR. The minute we feel that students have acquired a skill set to where they can perform on campus, we send them to campus. Dual credit at our building does not look like they earn it in, but they go to the U of I campus and attend those classes in person. It's amazing to watch a student where a year prior was at risk to graduate, and now they're sitting next to college students feeling capable and empowered. Last year, 82% of our grads were either dual credit, had earned career training, or military bound. 82% of the grads. Ruby teaches a 0-hour class, workforce training, where if they're working 10 hours a week, they get credit for this class as they meet with her to talk about navigating managers, human resources, resumes, professional habits. And then these are just some of the U of I courses. We also partner a lot with LCSC for certifications, construction. Next weekend, I'm going down with some of my kids to do my forklift with them. So, watch out. That might also be my next step in my career. And of course, we partner with CNA and even Police Citizens Academy, where that's a great outlet for some of our students. As you see the end of all that, I want this to be clear to the board that a current recommendation for graduation standards is around humanities and the 2 required credits. As it sits now, the statement is it may include visual arts, music, theater, dance, which we can offer none of those at PCR. We don't have the room, space, or the educator. Excuse me, but now I can substitute for literature and history courses, which we do offer. The current proposed change, however, would make it to where it can only be visual arts, foreign language, music, or theater. So we're pretty nervous about this proposed change to the humanity requirements, because those are not things that are viable or really reachable from our school's perspective. And we definitely feel that the world courses, history and language courses meet humanity needs. So I wanted to express that need, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you further about this potential change here. What I worry about is that it could send a lot of our students this way to IDLA, and an at-risk student comes to PCR for in-person learning. It's not our destination to send students to remote or digital learning. They need their teacher. They need their support systems.
I would also argue, as the current chair of the Idaho Humanities Council, that visual art is not a humanities, and neither is music. Those are art. No. Humanities and art are actually very different, and there are definitional differences between them. So,
Listen, I'm ready to go with this. Let's go down together. So this is the fact that I want to end on, just to highlight. That's same 3 educators. This is us surrounding one of our recent grads who's currently on campus at the University of Idaho. The multiple amount of endorsements that have to be maintained by the educators at PCR is pretty unbelievable. All of these endorsements require their own set of professional development, continued education. So between 3 people, 39 courses are offered inside of our high school. That means between 3 people, they have prepared and continue to modify that much coursework. 3 new classes and a teacher every 9 weeks, which means that each daily class is equal to about 2 periods in length. So I want to stress how amazing these educators are. Not only this much prep, but 1 lesson every day is actually 2. It's kind of twice the amount of prep required. Class size is up to 18, but I want to stress that it's at risk to graduate students. So I say 18. At our school, I can definitely say every student requires something individual and unique to find that success. So in the end, from 9:25 to 5:15, there are 3 teachers in this school district that are really doing unbelievable things on the side of education for at-risk students. So that's the folks for Paradise Creek. All right, I'm gonna pop over to that other one here real quick, if that's all right.
As he's popping, I'll just say, it harkens me back to my small school days as a superintendent and teacher, and the amount of flexibility that's required and that Paradise Creek shows, but also the amount of one-on-one touch with students that is hard to replicate anywhere else, and is certainly at the heart of what they do. So thank you to all of you, your three great teaching staff. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate all of your support and letting us be creative to get these students to be successful. And we are having a chopped competition next week for that culinary class as the final, so it's around 1:40 Wednesday. Okay, so then I'm so lucky. I have this other side of my work that I wanted to give an update on, and I'm specifically targeting the community schools effort. So as you know, community schools is what we've really pushed this year with the idea that we partner with local industry and local stakeholders to try to make up some of the needs that are beyond reach of just initial available school district services. And it's allowed me to build partnerships that we've never had before as a district. And what I love about community schools is often as a district, we have a habit of asking and asking. We need some money here, help here. Community schools is a mutual relationship where not only do our students benefit from it, but local industry does well. It could be through advertising. It could also be that we are creating a funnel for students to help their industry specifically. So I'd like to highlight some of the successes so far this year, because there's been many. This is the big model. I'm not going to talk through all this piece here, but this is essentially what's driven all of our work, is the comment, all students flourish in thriving school communities. But these areas here are what I'm going to sort of punctuate that we've really focused on this year to try to ensure that needs have been met by all of our students. So I'll head here, expanded and enriched learning opportunities. Wow, we have built a lot of partners this year. STEM has taken a big focus where we've had the Makerspace STEM Lab built at the middle school, which I know you've heard about, and our local STEM lab, which is in the trailer, where it's 90 STEM plus non-electronic activities for students. But we've taken it so much further this year. These are MMS library ambassadors who went to our teacher professional development session to learn how to use these STEM activities. They took the knowledge, went back to the middle school, and have built STEM kits inside our library for when they have advisory time and free time. Students can come up to the library now and have an ambassador lead them through a STEM project. So it's no longer just us teaching about these physics or ideas. It's our own kids who are taking this on and pushing it. That is community schools. That's empowering students and creating enriched learning. Beyond that, of course, we've got the Adventure Club sites. We're at 3 sites. They're all full, over 160 students with everyone visiting. But I really want to target, we're focusing now on a 5 to 9 summer program. Our survey we sent out had said that parents are concerned about what do I do on days off and time off for my students in 5th grade up to 9th grade. We have Adventure Club. We have all the way up to age 11. But that middle group, idle hands, right? Free time. If you're a parent of that age group, which I am right now, you understand. So I've been able to partner this summer where we're going to offer a free program every Wednesday of July, just targeting the age of students leaving 5th grade up to entering 9th grade. They're all hosted by an industry partner. So for example, Moscow Contemporary, we're going to host an art day where we're going to house it, and it's going to be all fine arts, but at a level just directed at this age group. PCEI has agreed to come on, and we're going to Laird Park for survival skills. So wish me luck. I will make it back. Schweitzer Engineering is also hosting one of these sessions where we're going to have an entire day of engineering projects geared just towards this age group. This, again, is community schools. This is bringing in industry partners to enrich a need that we clearly have. So we're in the formation of that right now. I'll move on because I could literally go on for hours on these programs. Family and community engagement. If you got to come by, last Thursday, this was the first ever STEAM night. We had over 300 people come, which is unbelievable. The design of it through a community school model was we had STEAM represented in K-12 in 2 rows. All the programming within our district, from kindergarten work guided by Faye Nagler, all the way up to senior welders presenting welding art and new welds that they've learned, and everything in between. The next row was all university level. It's our College of Engineering, College of Architecture, and the Docheo Center, presenting what the next level of STEAM could look like if they want to pursue that field. And then the final row was all industry partners, Schweitzer Engineering, Idaho PBS, and Knit Architecture. So the experience for these folks is they wound through here with their free pizza, was they got to watch how STEM on the Palouse can thrive from age 5 all the way to professional careers. Sean and I really rolled the dice on this. We're like, I hope they come, and they did, and so he promised me we'd have the Bear Den next year. Dawn, I know I saw you because we rubbed against each other like this down an entire hallway. But this is an example of the kind of engagement where it's not just asking for money for the pizza, right? It's bringing industry partners in so we all benefit from this work. The magic moment I want to stress is when my senior welder got a chance for me to take his booth for him for 5 minutes so he could meet the head of manufacturing from Schweitzer Engineering. And to watch them shake hands, him give him some guidance on some of his welds, and the next step he needs to do to be able to move to that professional level, that was worth the entire event planning alone. And that was one of hopefully hundreds of occasions that happened like that. So there's been a lot of these other ones. Again, I won't go through all of them, but this is the kind of example of where community schools is moving. Collaborative leadership, we've been able to create quite a few partnerships. A large one has been with Gritman. We're doing Behavior Advisory Council, where we have a specialist of every pediatric field, along with district representatives from mental health to classroom to counselors. And each time we meet, we bring up what are the foreboding needs in our community. What is most present? I've learned more about sleep habits and nutrition for adolescent students through this training and how to support, and we can show them what we're seeing on our end. But this little guy, he benefited from this because we have a collaborative leadership partnership with Schweitzer Engineering, where we meet once a month just to discuss how could we utilize SEL in our schools. On one of the professional development days, SEL took over Adventure Club and brought a challenge of creating a way to move water through robots. And we have a kindergartner here. You could just kind of see his formation, but out of parts he designed an entire piece that used a sphere robot to move water across the gym floor. That's a 5-year-old, guys, on a day where he normally just wouldn't even have school. But because of this partnership, you got to have that experience. And then integrated student supports. Hey, I know that guy. I know her too. We've learned a lot about needs of our community and how to best respond to those. As a principal in this district for the last 6 years, I could name many. Warm pants, boots, gloves. Because of community partners, grants, and endorsements, our Family Resource Hub has served over 150 students in this district so far this year. It could be a set of gloves. It could be 9 pairs of jeans. It doesn't matter. If you need it, you meet me there and we shop. And I will tell you the part that's been the dream that I wanted to have happen is it's not a shoebox or a box full of things and I hope you like it. I have moms holding dresses in front of their daughters. Dads holding pent belts around their sons just like they're shopping at Old Navy, but it costs them no money. So it's all dignity at no cost, which has been tremendous. Outside of there, our medical liaison with Chaz has navigated countless appointments for families in need, dental and medical, all the way up to our liaison walking a family to the front door of Chaz and handing them off to a Chaz representative to ensure they get the medical care they need. I could go on and on again, but we also have our school-based therapeutic counseling at the middle school. We have 2 partners there now at Lena Whitmore and McDonald Elementary, where instead of missing 4 hours of school for my required counseling, I walk 2 doors down. And 30 minutes later, I can go back to class. It's been tremendous to watch. Excuse me. We've acquired free eye care for anyone in need. Free haircuts. The Moscow Food Co-op provides me with $15 vouchers every single month. Again, it's giving and sharing on all ends. And these have been really incredible to watch flourish. So, altogether, all of this led to a number of partners we've had. Here's our friends from Schweitzer, our friends from Knit. This is a long list, I won't read all, but these are folks who've contributed beyond just initial vouchers or aids. These are people who've completely delved into our work here in the district, either provided instruction in class, guest speaker, work for juniors and seniors. Really, the list goes on and on. But again, it's not just asking for fundraising money anymore. These are mutual relationships that are occurring here. And it led to our Idaho Coalition of Community School grant. I know you've heard a little about this, but in December, January, we got to present the programming that we've manufactured. Mind you, excuse me, this was the starting budget. Was $0 and a handshake. And we've grown from there through these partnerships. And I'm so excited that ICS and United Way of Treasure Valley have given us a 4-year award of $780,000. This includes the $40,000 per year for programming at Moscow Middle School and Moscow High School, along with the 2 school coordinator roles, one at the middle school and one at the high school. I can just tell you from my standpoint, I could really use a couple people to help me. Because right now, if the hub is open on Saturday, it's just me hanging out there. I'm happy to do it, but I feel we can grow this even further. I want to emphasize too, as Sean and I have worked with this group, we're one of the rare districts where we've gone secondary with our focus here. Most have gone elementary, which I understand, but we have some thriving elementary programs and Title I funding. We've committed to the secondary area, middle school and Moscow High School, to see if we can't make these programs thrive even further with students being in the community, connected to industry, and in my opinion, boosting local economy by ensuring that we're training our students for work ahead, we're advertising local business in an efficient way. It's really growing Moscow as a whole. So, in the end, in total, the number I don't have on top, we're just shy, with all these grants added up, just shy of $1 million in all the different grants that have come in, which is pretty incredible since we started here in a handshake. So we're just at the beginning of community schools, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for the work that Brian does. I'd love to see how it's bringing value to the district and making a difference in kids' lives. I know one thing we've talked about with this new community schools grant is some potential expansion. Obviously, continuing to grow the hub and how we can serve our community. The expansion of potential like full food bank offerings there, and then also with the new staffing, a lot of focus around like middle school and even potentially high school, but maybe centered at the middle school, like tutoring available as another part of kind of that vision. There's still pieces to kind of put together and get going. And I know this is public and streaming too. I think sometimes, it's really quick and there's a lot of different partners, corporate partners that have helped, but one that I think the locker room to me is like an example. If people are listening of they didn't want any praise or recognition, so I'm going to give it to them anyways. Of just a business that is committed to doing the right things for kids and has come up with a really good model that's a reasonable way to, if a kid needs a haircut, they can get a haircut. And so just great, kudos to them. There's multitude of other stories, and Brian could talk longer than me about all of them, but just some really great things. So thanks, Brian, for your work.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, we move on to the public comment period. We have no public, so we're just going to move on to Director Superintendent's report.
Okay, who do we have first? There you go. Jen?
Well, good evening, and I have to say I'm happy to be back at the boardroom for this little announcement here. But just to fill you in, I learned a lot from my professional development time in Florida at the Skyward User Group Conference. That said, when I was there, I did a lot of networking with school districts. I sat in a lot of sessions for 2 days, and I visited with Skyward experts. And in doing this, I determined that my team was not quite ready to migrate, which we would have migrated in March, actually Monday. And so I kind of changed things up a little bit. I want my team to be successful in this migration. It's huge. And I want them to be experts in the Q system, the new system that we're going to. And so I've chosen a new go live date, and that will be November 3rd. I've created a new training plan from what I've learned in Florida and at the Idaho User Group and visiting with the different people and experts. And so our dead week for that will be October 24th, I believe. And so I think this is what's right for my team and for this district, and I'm looking forward to kind of incorporating all that I learned and moving forward. So I wanted you to be aware of that because I know I've been talking about it and the date was coming up and would have been a fun day. And then, so that said, my office is busy doing year-end planning, and then original budget creation will begin here any day now. And then also negotiations are on my agenda moving forward, so it's a busy time for the business office. I don't know when it's not a busy time, but that's just the way it is. That's all I have. Any questions about the migration?
I trust your judgment.
I'll say kudos to Jan. I mean, you just got to recognize those things. We've had a lot of turnover, nothing bad turnover, but just changes in retirements and moving staff around. I mean, when Jen kind of was like, having conversations with me about, moving it to that November date. It's like, there's been so much that they've managed, and so I think it's the right decision. And we're not, we weren't on the very cutting edge of, switching over, but we're also not on the very tail end of it. There's lots of other districts that are behind where we're at, so I anticipate it'll be done successfully like everything the business office does, so.
Thank you.
All right, you ready?
I don't think so.
Well, good evening. So I'm going to start off with accreditation news because I'm excited to say we are fully prepared for the accreditation review team's visit. We're kind of in hostess mode, trying to line out lunches and snacks and all of that. And so we are really looking forward to their visit, but I think that we're ready to go. We've submitted all of our documents. So as of next Wednesday at around noon, hopefully we will be done. I believe our exit review will be at 11 o'clock. And I know you've already probably shared that with the board, but
Actually, that'd be good to remind everybody. I know the one date that I know you guys had hammered down was when they'd like all of you to be here for the interview portion, and that is on Monday.
I've got it.
At 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock.
Yep. Monday at 1 o'clock. You're also welcome to that closing out, which is Wednesday. I don't know if I've communicated that, but it's normally a pretty quick thing. I don't think you would have to be there. It's not even really like a discussion. What they kind of do is like they have like a little kind of stock PowerPoint, I would call it, that they fill in a few little pages and things. They'll kind of like give us preliminary findings, things that are likely to be in the report, but not the official report. So again, you're welcome to that. I'll also share those things at a board meeting either way. And that is at 11 o'clock
and that's
on
11,
Wednesday.
So we're looking forward to that. The second thing I wanted to share with you is March is always the time of year when I'm required to provide a private school consultation because they are allowed to access our federal programs such as Title I, Title II, and Title IV. I always send out those emails or those letters, and I'm the only private school that's ever participated in my 11 years has been St. Mary's. At the request of the new principal at St. Mary's, I briefly attended a parent night last night to just explain to them the importance of turning in income surveys. In my 11 years here, St. Mary's has had a Title I reading intervention teacher in their building except this year, and that's because they didn't get very many income surveys turned in last year, and so they just didn't have enough funding to provide that, So anyway, I went and Shannon was with me. She's not here tonight, but she talked a little bit about special education, and we were there just for a few minutes, but we did both present to those parents at St. Mary's last night. For the prevention program, I wanted to share that with you, and Jen, I'm going to hand these to you if you can pass those down to our board members, and I have one for Sean and Angie. Mandy Stray is hosting a community event on April 30th. It is called Stronger Together, a Night of Awareness, where attendees learn about Substance Use 101, how to recognize the signs of substance use, understanding risks, and then prevention strategies. Additionally, they will provide a community resource fair where resources and materials will be provided to attendees. Currently, the organizations participating in the resource fair, and this could grow between now and April 30th, is the North Idaho Central District Health, Vandal Alcohol and Drug Center, the Recovery Center, Brittman Hospital, Al-Anon and Alateen, which is similar to AA, but it's for kids who have parents that may be struggling with alcohol. And then the Moscow Police Department, and I understand she's met with, just this week, has met with the SRO officers and our SRO officer and many of our school counselors who have been assisting in the planning and implementation of this event. Dinner will be provided, and we would love to see you attend if you can. I think it begins at 5. I think the time is from 5 to 7. Our SOR officer is, did I say that right? SRO officer is going to be, he'll be doing a lot of the speaking. He's got a big role in this whole thing. So, and I think she's meeting with Brian tomorrow, because we see this too as a part of kind of the whole community schools thing. So I shared those with you, and that's all I have tonight. So.
Mandy loves those baked potato bars.
I know.
Events.
I know. One year they weren't cooked all the way, and it was a struggle, but we get through them. Yes, you does.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything with curriculum adoption then, is there?
Oh, well,
Oh,
I
that's
didn't
later.
mention it because it's coming, as you
I put it
know.
up because I was
Science.
thinking you were going.
Oh, do you want me
You're
to
right.
do
No,
that?
we'll follow the agenda, you're right.
Okay. Angie's careful. Sorry.
Good idea.
What a concept.
It's my fault, I saw your name and.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, just 3 quick things from me today. Moscow Middle School air conditioning project. We are in the process of making an order and making sure that we get the best solution for air conditioning window units as we can, along with any mounting accessories and covers as well too. We're anticipating Omega Electric to get started just as soon as the students are out and completing all those electrical needs. For the reunification, we did a tabletop exercise and a site visit. We had around 30 staff members come to the district on Monday this week. And with the goals is making sure that staff understand their roles during reunification and discuss and walk through the HERC. As it's one of our potential sites for reunification, and just allow staff to ask questions, and overall very well received, and I feel that the staff are prepared to respond as needed. Lastly, the state building safety inspection we had the previous week, and our safety inspectors stopped and walked in through all of our buildings. We're very fortunate. This is the 3rd different inspector we've had in 3 years. So each one has had a really unique lens to help us prepare for safety needs and any changes we need to make and what they see. We also had the head of Doppel building safety that was here for the morning, and very thorough. So it was we were in some buildings for a lot longer than we've ever been. So it was great to have them and help us through the process. We haven't received a report yet, but one thing they very complimented on us was the cleanliness of our buildings. So, yeah. And that's all my report for today.
Yeah, that was
Thank
good. I was able to participate in some of the walkthroughs, not all of them, but I think there'll be some good information coming from that. And like Butch said, it's interesting with each 3 of the last 3 years, you see different kind of viewpoints and perspectives, which is good. I am very excited about the air conditioning work that we got the electricians in over spring break. Omega Electric agreed to do that, and really for what will be total by the time we purchase air conditioners at the middle school will be about $80,000 that is budgeted as part of our air conditioning work with our 10-year plan. On this year's budget, we'll be able to air condition every room appropriately in the middle school. Really good news when it came to electrical. And it's not quite half the electrical work's probably a little more than half of the cost, and then the air conditioning units as well. Just a really good solution. And then we're on the calendar to continue to push forward in the high school to come up with some other different ideas and solutions, as well as we recognize that it's a challenge that's ongoing. And so just keep ticking them off. And July, they've got a really good plan to get in and get all that wiring done. And we should be running really before air conditioning is needed. So excited about that. Good work. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So just a couple of updates for you. I'll try to stay fairly tight. I did apply for a district grant. We're looking at maybe doing some renovation and upgrades to our digital audio studio. We've been growing some programs in the middle school. One of those is around it started with students broadcasting sporting events at the middle school, and we're hoping to grow that even more and even potentially have some students that take that program up into the high school as well. This grant would kind of upgrade a space in the middle school and make it more like an official green screen room, some podcast recording studios, and some other space for students. Fingers crossed on that. That's about $67,000. The cell phone policy has come and implemented, and maybe I'll knock on wood, but with nary a squeak, really. I was just in the high school yesterday, and I thought, well, I'm just going to be sneaky and see what the hallways really look like in real life. And I can tell you, my report, one anecdotal evidence was that passing period is that students weren't on their cell phones. And we're going. I know there's a group of middle school students that I'm meeting with tomorrow, I think it's on my calendar, that have expressed some interest in kind of, it's a challenge at lunch, and that they have some ideas for some interesting things that we can do. I'll be maybe working with them I've reached out to the Idaho Central Credit Union to see if that's something they might financially support to kind of come up, address some of the, maybe it's getting new balls or some board games was brought up and mentioned at lunch, maybe some chess sets or other things that kids could do to interact with each other that's not on their phone. I was reminded by a middle school student the other day that as I was actually the first day it was implemented, I checked on how it was going, and it's like, we do sometimes use our phones at lunch to play games against each other, and it's kind of, it's an easy way. I've used my phone to play games individually, but also I know there's some board games that I play where you don't have to manage the cards because the technology can do it for you. So they mentioned that as something fun that they still did together, even though it was evil technology, right? And so they're just being very real, and I appreciate it. But I think it's been a really positive thing. Although Mrs. Summers did report the lunchroom is much louder now than before. And I know in her newsletter she mentioned that for the first time ever students noticed her shoes, the shoes that she was wearing. So sometimes when you get your guys when you get your eyes off of the phone, you start to notice some other things. I think it's been actually overwhelmingly positive, and I think we'll continue to move forward. I think all policies, you just want to continue to monitor that it's implemented with fidelity and that you don't have mission drift or leak as we move forward. ISAT testing is coming, just to make you aware of that. That will begin soon, not immediately, but it starts in April.
Coming.
Yep, and it's not too far away. I know Denise has been working to make sure everybody's trained and
I should have mentioned that,
Yep.
yes, she's providing proctor training, making sure
Yep.
everybody gets all of their I's dotted and T's crossed, and in alignment with what the state requires, so.
I would be lying to you if I was feeling super positive about kindergarten numbers overall. They continue to bring me concern. I think our current number is about 80, which is smaller. Our smallest class size ever in a long time was 105. That's the current first grade class, which actually has grown, I think, to closer to 120 now. But if those, and I anticipate a few more kindergarten numbers as the charters kind of close their lotteries and make decisions. Some will come to us, but nothing like a large class coming is what I would say, kind of on pre-numbers, and if anything could be, again, one of our smallest classes.
I got mine registered.
Right, good.
I did my part.
I
I
keep
will.
looking at you.
I thought it was interesting that a principal shared that she had the most shoppers she'd ever had.
Oh, yeah.
The most parents coming through and wanting to.
We are certainly in a high choice environment, and so it's something that's got me really thinking. We're late in the game again this year, but we just have to get more competitive in this high choice environment with what we're doing, because parents are making decisions, and there are other avenues that are recruiting heavily and presenting their version of a story or side. And so like it or not, the days of us just being the the biggest one in the room and everybody will eventually show up to us is probably going away in this environment. So we have to adjust what we're doing, including, better recruitment of kindergartners and families and really demonstrating to them why you would choose us in our schools. So we'll continue with that. Legislative update is the legislative update. One of the most recent disappointments in a long series of disappointments is the $3 million special education bill, which is $3 million. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about statewide, is a drop in the bucket in their budget, and it was designated for high needs special education students, so that districts around the entire state of Idaho who got a kid that can cost as high as $100,000 in a year, could seek some relief of that. And oftentimes it happens when they have special needs, but they don't qualify for Medicaid, or their insurance doesn't pay a full amount. And so then all of a sudden you have these needs, and the district is legally obligated to pick it up. That $3 million bill had passed one, I forget, either House or Senate, and then failed by a vote, and is done for the year. So not even $3 million in additional spending for really very specific high needs. The state of Idaho has an $80 million shortfall in how we're funding special education. Districts are picking up $80 million of cost that the state is not picking up to fund special education. And one of the comments that came out was like, what if this grows from 3 million to 80 million? Well, yeah, what if it does? So we will continue to do our best, but that bill is done for the year.
But we're okay giving 50 million to religious schools, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That Brian mentioned some of the changes in state rule. And there's been a kind of a fight between the legislature and the state board who set state rule. The state board had come with a recommendation which was not very well received, I would say, by our district and many others, to remove the speech requirement and add a digital technology kind of requirement. Technology literacy, digital literacy, I think is what it was called. The State Department thought that was wise to not add credit requirements to districts, but I think did not see the folly in the importance of speech for students. I can tell you as a superintendent, I who liked math and science a lot, the things that I do in my job the most are speaking and writing. And so what happened though is the state legislature got a hold of that, had lots of people who said we don't want to remove speech, revised it, didn't accept that rule change, but did accept the rule change around accredited edition of digital literacy. And so now, effectively, we'll see how all this pans out. There could still be changes, but we will continue to have the speech requirement and now also need to add in a credit's worth of digital literacy. And if I understand right, it will apply to next year's freshmen by the time they graduate. But I'll have to I haven't dug deeply into it.
It would have to be an expressly separate credit. It could not be folded into
unlike
another.
that is my understanding, because that's the way they wrote it, is to not get rid of requirements, but to keep it. Basically, they traded a credit for a credit. So when all that kind of back and forth happened, all they did was drop the speech from dropping. So they kept the speech and then just left that language about the digital literacy. So
But you can't layer digital
No.
literacy on top of, say, like a history class.
no,
in-
because unlike a few years ago they did that financial literacy piece, and the way they wrote that is you didn't have to actually have a credit of financial literacy. You had to take a class that was for a credit that included the components of financial literacy. Yeah, we had talked. That it didn't. I think it's
That
just
would have been
it'll be a
smart.
credit. Yes, but again, it wasn't like it didn't get thought out. And then when the legislature got their hands on it, this is what we end up with, and this is what we'll have to kind of navigate as far as requirements. We'll continue some discussion around that. Whether we just Moscow School District, Moscow High School specifically, has a higher credit requirement than the state. So. By multiple credits, and so we could look at maybe maybe finding another area with the Moscow requirements that we could back off to kind of match this by a credit, or we could talk about adding one more credit onto the Moscow requirements along with the state. So that'll be an ongoing conversation, mostly with the high school. Just budgeting wise, as I know we go into negotiations, listen to another legislative webinar today from Quinn. That was on our Superintendent's Association, but she was talking from the School Boards Association. The maintenance budget for schools passed very early on. This is year number 2 of this new model of JFAC appropriating things. The maintenance budget means this. Basically, it's whatever you got last year, and then the employee compensation change, which they call CEC. As some people refer to it as like a cost of living adjustment. So that got passed early on, and that is basically, so we get the same budget as last year, and then they budget 5% increase on the staff that we have. Always remembering as a board that the Moscow School District employs significantly more staff than what the state funds for. And the legislature does not give us 5% for that number. They give us 5% for their number of staff that we think we should employ. Which is vastly different, a lot different, 50% more maybe, something like that from Moscow School District. So when you get that 5% increase, it has to get spread out to everyone, because we don't get to pick the 5%, the people that are gonna get it, and then everybody else doesn't get it. And so that it definitely impacts things as we talk about, what that funding is. The other thing is with a maintenance budget and with some of the chaos that's kind of ensuing now, right, in JFAC, is that there's no increase to discretionary spending to those other things, because that's just maintained at a certain level. So when you face, we're still waiting for numbers for health insurance, but when you face a 6% increase on health insurance, again, you're getting the same discretionary allotment that we got last year without any recognition of the increased health costs. And so funding of our schools is certainly a concern immediately. And there's been a lot of chaos in JFAC over the last few days, and not just JFAC, but getting stuff out of, once it's on JFAC, it's got to go to the floors. The idea always behind JFAC was that they would get together and get something that could then, because they represented both wings, they could get them to pass on the floor. Well, there's been a lot of bills that have failed on the floor as of recent. And even when it comes to education, yesterday there was $2 million stripped from $4 million total, $2 million from Boise State and University of Idaho. And now today there was last minute scrambling now to, instead of making those $2 million ongoing cuts, they'll just be 1-year cuts. But again, very chaotic. And there is a section of legislators that will vote down any. So now they've passed all these maintenance budgets in quotes, and now they're calling them enhancement budgets. I would debate that, but so all the enhancements budgets, and there are people that will not vote in the positive for an enhancement budget. Anyways, lots of chaos around kind of funding of schools, let alone kind of some of the other things. I mean, there's a few, 2-factor authentication is kind of a side one, but that'll now be required as we move forward for public entity employees. So that's something our tech department is looking at implementing. The other one that was signed by law is the flags and displays. We'll be waiting kind of for guidance. Another one that was passed recently, I don't know if it's signed by the governor yet, is there's a bill around sexual education with kind of they call it specific, but we'll see as it goes, but a definition of what that would mean. And a lot of questions I think from schools about, there's a lot of things like would a Romeo and Juliet require a 2-week notice to tell, and 2-week notice and active parental consent to participate in. And so some of those questions will kind of get teased out as we go. I'm sure the State Department will provide us with some clarification as well. But those are all ongoing things. Quinn did kind of you know, it was like, you know, who knows in these last little bits. And with some of the, there was some original hope that maybe this would be the week that they sine die, and really with some of the JFAC chaos, it's probably not very likely. So on another note, there are, you know, some positive things. One thing I think that's a celebration for our district is we are moving forward. Denise has been a great leader in this with our Power School registration update. And that work is done now. They've kind of done substantial completion. And so next year for parents for the first time registering their students, we will not have to do the paper packet like this, right? Like it will be online. The forms will be provided. We're gonna simplify life for our school secretaries, for our district office staff with registration, and really reduce the amount of mistakes and make sure our data is clean. So I'm excited about that Power School registration update. We are moving forward with a website and school app update to better communicate with our patrons, using a company called Aptigee. And so we're gonna do a complete website rebuild, and also they are going to build a school district app that I really think is superior to, most people don't know, but we currently have a school district app that approximately 0 people use and it's not very useful. And so right after I took the job here, I downloaded it. I was all excited and I quit using it almost immediately. So I'm excited about that. They're a company that I've had, I've known about for a long time. And so I think it'll be a really good change for our district. I wanted to bring up the Lance Abendroth Field is going to be dedicated on April 8th. Yep. There's a baseball game. We have our state championship baseball team, reigning state champions. We're hoping for really good weather so I just jinxed it completely. During basketball season, we had the sign-on display. Lance is an athletic director for the district that served our district fearlessly, served the community fearlessly, lost the battle with cancer, but just a really good guy and has been good for kids and good for this community, and so we're happy to kind of recognize that work.
Yeah, it'll be in between, it's a doubleheader with Lewiston, and it'll be in between the 2 games where
Butch will be there. I am in Boise at meetings, so I will not be able to attend, but certainly would love to have, if a board member or 2 wanted to be there, just to kind of provide that. I don't know, there's not like a planned speech thing or anything, or I don't know if I've heard any details about
I
that.
think Sam Hochstein's going to be doing an announcement.
Yep, okay, so Sam will do an announcement, and I asked Butch about, I kind of plan to declare as a superintendent kind of a day to recognize Lance and his work on April 8th. So we'll move forward with that. Got you updated with middle school and high school air conditioning. And then another thing that we're looking at, I just want to put on your radar, Carrie's done a nice job of kind of in her 5 to 9 committee work. We are working with Power School to come up with a better system to keep track of both our response to intervention process for students who are needing some interventions, and then our 504, which we continue to see growth in the number of 504s that we have to deal with. And so this would be a software platform that can help us manage 504s more consistently. Some of the feedback from the 5 to 9 committee was our elementary buildings were all doing 504s differently. These are coming up with accommodations for students who maybe don't have an IEP but have some other condition where there needs to be some accommodations made. So all 3 elementaries are different, and then let alone by the time I got into the middle school it was different, and then by the time we got to high school it was different. So this is fruit of that committee. And finding a way to kind of unify that and make it consistent across the district. And it will stay with the kid the whole time in that Power School platform. So moving forward with that. And then I think the rest is facilities, so I'll tackle it during the facilities. But so that's my report, and stand for any other questions.
Good, thank you. All right, so moving on to our first discussion item, the coffee conversation. So Dawn and I did it. We did it at the east side near the playground. We had 3 people come and talk to us. they were 2 teachers and 1 staff member, so we had no
represented.
children at all. There were kids playing on it, but they weren't with the people we were talking to. And we had a really good conversation with them about things, and I think the two main topics that were discussed was, one, the overcrowding at West Park and the need for a new elementary school, and so we discussed that. And then the second one was the potential to move to a 4-day school week. And so that was the other thing that was discussed, and so those were the 2 main topics. So, I don't know if, Dawn, you wanted to add anything to it?
No,
but-
that covers it. It was a good discussion.
Yeah, and I must say, it was friendly, it was a good discussion, and they seemed happy.
They appreciated us being there and having that opportunity.
Yeah. All right, so the next one for April. So who would like to do April? First, who would like to do it and when?
I'll be gone.
You're always gone.
Not all.
You retire and then you just run off everywhere. That's the,
Our goal would be to have it done before the 23rd.
yes,
At our
before
next
the board
board
meeting,
meeting.
yep.
The one thing I thought is just an idea, like if there was a track meet or something here that we could set up a hot pot of coffee and like have it out there, and you wouldn't have to stay for the whole track meet, but
Stay for an hour, like.
yeah, I
usually
mean, I don't
do.
know, just set up a little table and say like, it's a school board, and have people just kind of come and go, or I don't know if there was something else like that. That would be like a different take and maybe a different clientele.
Yeah, that's-
When track meets
when are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
or baseball
Or a
games.
baseball game. I mean, the
Yeah.
8th would. I mean, could be a day that you have a table and or maybe not distract on the 8th, but pick a different one.
Yeah, maybe.
They've usually been doing it with softball coming down as well too, so
Yeah.
there'd be,
There's also tennis would be another. I mean, we have kids that are doing lots of different things, but
I'll look up.
So what do you got for us in the market of April 16 to 22nd?
if you, is it MoscowBears.org? Yeah.
I'm available Friday, April 11th, but that's kind of early. And I couldn't report on it.
We do have,
But whoever's
Written
with me
report.
could, yeah.
and we do have an IBB meeting on the 16th, which takes 2 of us out of the picture.
Baseball looks like they're home on the 15th and home on the 8th. That's the 8th is that date, and then home again on the 22nd. So that's baseball dates. I don't know, Butch, do you have anybody?
Oh, it stopped at April 11th for me, just on a quick one.
You said there is one the 22nd?
Yeah, against Sandpoint.
Mhm.
The 22nd is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tennis looks like a home match against. We got a lot of home matches, but the 12th, the 15th, the 18th, and the 21st would be tennis. Let's see.
I would be happy to try the 22nd for a baseball game if somebody wanted to join me.
What
For
time?
for an hour, I must.
Yeah, we'd only
I
do
will-
it for an hour.
Yeah, I think you just
Okay.
keep the same hour.
I'm gonna learn something about baseball. This is me admitting I don't know a lot about baseball. I'm a soccer gal.
What time is the game on the 22nd?
I was,
Games?
let me
Game
go
or
back.
games?
I went to softball.
It does look like softball's out of town that
Yep.
day.
I was looking
The date on the 22nd, let me confirm it's home. It says home. 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So 2 o'clock is JV, 4 o'clock
No.
is the.
They're both doubleheaders, so it's the same. It's
Oh.
both varsity games.
Okay,
So, but you can
double headers. 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, double header.
So I would
I
say
might be able to.
I could
join
do
the
4.
22nd.
I could do like 4 to 5.
4 o'clock, the second game starts.
Um,
Yep.
That's a Tuesday, yeah.
You wanna do
I'm
that?
I'm in town, yep.
And we can be
Ryan
fair
and I
weather
can
too,
do
if
the
the game's
22nd.
canceled
All
for
right.
rain, we'll
Dream
just
team.
cancel the.
All right,
So is it at the,
Thanks, Brian.
Joseph Field.
That's a ball.
the
That's a
community
bat.
playfield?
okay,
Sorry.
all right. And I'll get you the little
My
sign.
little sign.
I'll get you your little
Get
sign.
our
We used it.
chairs out.
last
We
time.
can figure out a hot coffee platform or something? Or-
We can have
Go coffee?
orange slices and juice
Don't we have
pouches. That's Little League, I guess, but.
That wasn't ours.
We
I'm
can
sure we
figure out,
can
maybe
come, so.
Kendra has an idea about a coffee maker. Do we have a big pot?
Yeah, we do, somewhere in the district. Might be easier just to grab like a
The
To go.
To
Yeah.
go, oh, yeah, we could go to a company too, maybe Cafe Artista has
Oh,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
that they can
Like
get.
a pump pump or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. That
Okay,
sounds much
4
simpler.
o'clock on April 22nd. Great,
Brian and Dulcie at the community playfields.
yes.
Okay.
Great.
Because we'll have to get him a table, and don't we have a cloth that we can put over the table?
We have that black, or the black table.
I think that would be cool. It'd draw attention. Help me remember.
I will.
All right,
Now,
well,
when I say
great.
that, I might be out of town.
Thank you both for doing that one. All right. Okay, moving on to item B, discussion of facilities.
Yep, so just kind of continue the discussion, you see the report regarding Russell in there. I think that the two things that I would say there that are still lacking as we do this is the plan around, like if you were to do that around the playground, and really just some existing concerns still with the traffic flow.
Yeah.
Other, just kind of updates on facilities. That I am anticipating next month the report from Lombard Conrad. So I think we are still on track for that. That's April 23rd. I know we've had conversations around the Paradise Creek property and are working to get it appraised. That was a little more delayed than I wanted. The earliest date I could get them to promise me is April 25th, which I'm going to continue to push for April 23rd, which is our board meeting date. But I hope to have you accurate information at that board meeting. They would not, on the signed agreement, commit to April 23rd. They still didn't feel like it was 100% locked in. So I'll continue to lean on that. If it does end up being the 25th, then I think we'll probably just have to schedule a special board meeting to kind of talk that and move forward.
Well, I mean, once we have all of this information,
Yes.
the reports and all that, then we will have to schedule a work
Yes. Yeah.
session.
Yep.
A board work
Anyways.
session to start discussing all of these
All of those
alternatives
things,
and,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so that we can move towards decisions.
Still moving forward with the look at just a small feasibility study around the idea of the middle school, high school combination. Again, we've accelerated that so that we have a May delivery date. So each of these is kind of a little staggered out, but all of those things are progressing.
There was a concern voiced at Ken and I, our session about it's already congested with the schools that are here, with
Yeah.
McDonald and the middle school, and if we add a high school with kids driving, that person was seeing a nightmare.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's part of our discussion about that evaluation is looking at that. Certainly,
Yeah.
Mountain View and D would not stay the same.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it with a four-way stop
Yeah.
anymore, but are there solutions there to help mitigate that challenge? But yes, yep, it does move more students overall, yep. More in this direction. I do think one advantage of it is it would keep it relatively walkable for a lot of the Moscow community. So you wouldn't have to move, if you built a high school on the edge of town, everybody is driving or getting dropped off or busing. Whereas here, it could be similar to what we currently experience, but.
Well, they said you could have staggered
Yep.
starts or something.
Yep, there's other potential
Right.
solutions there.
Because the high school where it is now, some students walk, some drive, and those students that drive, even if they live close to the high school, they still
Yep.
drive. So it's like getting them to not drive won't change from
Yeah.
wherever you put the high school, so.
I do envision, like Ken mentioned, like as we transition now to gathering all of this information from experts, like that we do start hosting some district workshops with the board, also putting together some potential committees to kind of help the board make decisions as well and get feedback. Try and keep those committees as diverse as possible and really bringing in all viewpoints. So that we're not just going one direction or what the superintendent thinks or something, but that's ongoing. I updated you around the air conditioning, the other facilities piece that's ongoing right now, kind of in line with what we had planned with our 10-year plan, is there's gonna be some fencing happening at Lena Whitmore and McDonald Elementary to kind of improve student safety and security next week, so.
What about the facelift of the middle school progress?
Oh, yeah, that was.
What's going on with that?
We met again, Professor Scott Lawrence came in with his team again, and they're moving forward. I should have had a little bit more of that, I kind of spaced it, but they have come up with a really cool, I think they talked a little bit about some of the, what do they call those? The
Pillars.
colonnades, pillars. And a really cool plan, I thought it was really neat. It was basically on the side there'd be a side that'd be like community facing as you're dropping off that would speak out like Moscow Middle School or something like that. But then on the other side, the side they talked about kind of student personalized experience, they came up with an idea for basically like a 12-inch 2x4 that every student, when they become a member of Moscow Middle School, would have a chance in our wood shop to make a 2x4 that is their that speaks to them, who they are, their personality, and then there'll be a hole at the top and the bottom, and they'll be pinned kind of where it goes like 2x4 space 2x4, and then there's another one up here, and so I don't know what you call that pattern, but so there's kind of, you can see through it a little bit, and then pinned with a rod through that would be locked and maintained. And then when you graduate or leave the school for whatever reason, Moscow Middle School, you would pull that rod and pull out your 2x4 and get to keep it with you. And I thought it was a really good, a great way to sometimes stuff that people do gets old really fast. And pretty soon you're like looking at something from a student in 95, which has no meaning. This would be it's a really cool way. You're never going to have a 2x4 in there that's more than 3 years old. And yet every student gets to become a part of the middle school and then take that part with them when they go. So I kind of like that. And then the other piece is we focused on the back side of the school, which is there's an alleyway between Bear Den, the field house, and the middle school. And it's on the east side of that. There's just this little cove that currently we have one old, slightly dilapidated storage shed for PE equipment. A complete refresh of that into an outdoor learning space and kind of a little bit of an event center / learning space for the students. And the students, instead of going out the one entrance that they currently do, will kind of go out to lunch there and have an outdoor spot to eat lunch and to hang out. And we'll actually improve overall visibility for staff with students at lunch, and also won't wreck what I think is the beauty of the face of that building that you can kind of see architecturally is really nice. Kind of will flow in line with that, and just really create a really cool like lunch and hangout space, which is exciting to me as we talk about like changing from no cell phones and those other things, that they would have a space like that. So that project is ongoing, and they move quickly. They move quickly, but largely. Oh, and then the entryway too to the middle school. I forgot about that. Really cool plan. Right now, when you hit that buzzer to buzz into the middle school on this west side of the building, you're standing in the rain or snow, waiting to get buzzed in, and it's really a cold, kind of harsh entry into the building. They've created a more warmer welcome that actually extends out almost to the parking lot with a little covered area that will be clear. So you can still kind of see up and see light. It doesn't darken it or anything, but you'll be out of the elements. And then some really cool kind of just lines going in, and even cleaning up the area kind of underneath the stairs right there as you walk in, with a metal and wood kind of look, make it uniform. and kind of create a little indoor kind of bench waiting area, improving that spot. So I thought it's a really cool kind of announcing in a welcoming way into the middle school. So some fun projects I'm excited about. So,
Great.
um,
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving on to item C, the first reading of instruction, class size.
Angie is committed to getting through all these policies before she retires or anything else, but so it's really good. This is just a look at it, freshen up. Let's see, the shift from case or 4.6 to 4.5, which really is in line with what we've been doing for a long time. The last time that policy had been updated was when it was still a junior high, and we had sixth graders in elementary. And then I think a good suggestion, I'll give Angie the credit to move that we really didn't need a separate policy number for that effort to be made to balance class size. So moving it up.
Okay.
Fairly simple.
All right. Any comments? No. Okay. Moving on to item D, the first reading for credit transfer.
This one was not simple and involved multiple iterations. Again, I will say how much I appreciate Angie and her help, kind of helping me navigate it. She kind of came up with the idea of there's kind of two copies there, right? There's a first reading so you can see all the hacks, and then kind of a clean copy of it. This was really a policy that just needed some overall freshening up. This doesn't guarantee, I think there's still some changes that could be coming that from whether that's the state board or legislature that would require us to go back in, but I wasn't gonna pause things to like wait for that, but you can see quite a bit of it is hacked out, but we just wanted to keep some of the important pieces. We would get rid of some of that procedure stuff. It does, just kind of highlighting the overall change, and you can see the things that we've kind of eliminated, but the 6105 is about acceptable credits at the high school. And so this just kind of clarifies the things that we would look at. One, correspondence/university courses, and makes them acceptable credits. Foreign exchange programs for district students, so that is not a foreign student coming here, but if our students do, travel internationally and get credits. C is homeschool, so provide some clarity on what homeschool credits that we wouldn't accept homeschool credits, but they could potentially be earned through other credit will be granted for courses meeting regional accreditation agency standards. And then alternative educational experiences, which is the part that I think is coming. So basically that is a little bit vague there, but I left that as a almost like a placeholder so I didn't forget. I think there's some language coming about us being required to award alternative educational experience credits. And so for now, we're saying that it has to have pre-approval by a principal, and then I think we'll do some work to define what that would be like. So we do accept credits from, I just want to make sure that's clear, we do accept credits from accredited institutions. So private schools are not there because those are accepted if they're accredited. Yeah.
If they are not, would we treat them as
As
like
a homeschool
homeschool and we
credit.
would have to have some
Yep.
sort of examination?
Yeah, credit by examination, it would fall under that policy. The 6110 is a waiver of certain requirements for high school graduation. This is a section that we drastically reduced down. It seems to me, maybe Dawn would know, there was a lot of this policy was built around maybe physical education credits and waiving PE credits, and if the counselors, when I visit with them, maybe it's centered around with Moscow Junior High and high school and that transition, and sometimes kids would not get the required amount of PE credits, so there was a process to waive at Moscow High School some of the PE requirements. There was even language in there about special education students and other things like that. This kind of condensed that down into saying like, we can't waive state standards, those are the state rules. But since Moscow goes above and beyond state standards, state requirements, we could waive Moscow School District requirements and just kind of sets what that would look like, that we would, what would be considered a waiver, what would be the mitigating circumstances, and then a timeline for decisions. And then we have the 6115, which is the, again, granting of credit for students on foreign exchange.
Questions, comments? I know there's a lot to go through.
Wait, I guess I'm confused about what's the difference between foreign exchange program for district students and the last section? They're both referring to our students studying abroad or on an exchange program, right?
Well, one is acceptable credits, the other one is, it's the student's responsibility to get that transcript, to bring it back so that we can put it on their transcript.
Does it make sense to put them closer together?
We certainly could move the grant, into that line up there. I think we'd wanna keep the foreign exchange credits in there listed. I'm trying to look at the clean copy here. Under that B, 6105B,
Yeah.
we could just add that paragraph under
Mm-hmm.
under that
Mhm.
section right there.
Good.
And just delete the 6115.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how many times you look at
Yeah,
that
yeah,
and roll it
yeah,
with
yeah.
different people, and then when you say it, and you
Yeah,
could
'cause,
almost it references 6115, so you could almost take out that reference, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Provided the student
I'll-
produces
I'll think-
documentation.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Yeah, cause
Change the wording.
there doesn't, is there a need to have it separate, because there's no problem with adding it into the other.
And we
You
did
can
talk
see it.
about that.
So,
And it does, just going back, it's the 6100.2 says credits and records for transferring students grades 1 through 12 from state approved or accredited schools will be accepted upon receipt of official transcript. So that's where another accredited school, we do accept those in.
right. Okay. All right, anything else at the moment? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item E, first reading homebound instruction services.
This one is less extensive, and had been sitting for a while with some previous edits that we just had got in front of you guys. Homebound instruction is allowed. One advantage of homebound instruction is that if we do, and we do occasionally use it, that we can count homebound students as in attendance, basically. That's why it's important that we have one. This lays out kind of how you might qualify to be a homebound student, and then other protocols such as grading, coursework, assignments.
I had one
Mhm.
clarification or question for 6275.4
Okay.
under assignments and grading, and it actually is at the onto that next page part.
Mm-hmm.
But it says secondary school students, and I'm wondering, do we need to say high school students, or does our middle school include secondary, or?
Yeah, middle school is
I would say
secondary.
secondary is
too.
middle school, high school.
It is, okay.
Mhm.
I knew it was high school and junior high, but I didn't know
Yeah,
if secondary was.
they consider secondary school 6 to 12 now if you have that
Okay.
model.
And then just in the very last line there, what's the justification for the change for students beyond the age of 15 to 16? Was there
Where are we looking?
the very last?
6275.5.
Yeah, sorry, 6275.
I think that it's old language, and what I would say is that is the age of dropout, basically. And so what that's saying is if they, I think what it's there for, how much it's actually needed, but is if they termination of homebound status may coincide with the release of public school enrollment. So if you say I'm dropping out, then we're no longer obligated to provide that homebound service anymore. We're kind of really, because we're not legally obligated to be teaching that kid if they want to drop out, if they indicate us to that they're dropping out.
And they can drop out at 16.
It's a little redundant.
Okay, got it. So but at some point the dropout was 15 and now it's 16.
Mhm.
But I don't like the way that reads then, because it makes it sound like for students beyond the age of 16, that makes it sound like a 17-year-old, doesn't it?
Why did we change it to 16? Did you?
I didn't do this. This was actually reviewed by Shannon and Mary Ann.
Yeah, that's
And this,
right.
I just pulled this out from their edits. Because this whole process for this policy started like a year ago, and then it just kind of kept getting shoved back.
I'll double check on that. I think you're right. I mean, the age that your compulsory attendance ends at 15. So at 15 you are required to be in school. At 16 you are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then it was actually right,
So
beyond the
I-
age of 15. Yeah,
We'll double
yeah,
check that.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. So we move on to action item A, curriculum adoption. Carrie?
All right, should I read the background information before the presentation or after?
It's your
Okay,
presentation.
I think it would make more sense maybe to do it after, if that works.
Sure.
Whatever you want.
I put together a very short presentation just in case anybody online were watching. I know I provided you with a lot of in-depth adoption information, so this won't be anything that you probably haven't already read or reviewed in board docs, but
And now it won't come up.
We couldn't find the projector for the longest time.
okay. So as you know, science is up for adoption. It was a K-12 adoption this year, adoption review. If you approve our selections tonight, then those materials will be ordered and implemented next school year, next fall. Next slide, Sean. At the elementary level, Mystery Science and FOSS Science is what they are currently using. Mystery Science is a comprehensive inquiry-based program designed to engage students in hands-on learning, and FOSS Science is a research-based hands-on science curriculum. After reviewing other science programs, they were really happy with what they had, and they opted not to adopt new curriculum. We have some really well-loved, well-worn-out materials, so we're gonna have to replace a few kits. Teachers let us know, yeah, my stuff is really worn out. I would like a new Mystery Science kit, and we need some new FOSS Science, just ancillary supplies and equipment. And then the only other thing would be to renew our subscription that we currently have. So that's elementary, and that was what they made a decision on doing. In the next slide.
One quick budget conversation with that. We have kind of talked about when we did the math adoption, we set aside a little bit for each building to be able to have some consumables for math. We really think after looking at the budget that we can just roll science into that too and not change the overall dollar amount, but
For
still,
the FOSS Science piece.
yes, for the FOSS
FOSS Science is like Dixie cups and
Yes.
paper clips, and you can imagine if my secretary Denise were trying to order all of those little tiny items for every single classroom, and so this budget has really been helpful. In math, it's kind of the same principle, and we think it will work really well for the FOSS Science
so it'll
as well.
basically become like the math/science
Yes.
consumables.
At the middle school level, Elevate Science was the core curriculum that they chose or landed on after a review. Elevate Science is an interactive and inquiry-based curriculum designed to engage students through hands-on learning, real-world applications, and digital resources. It will cover physical science, life science, and earth science. To complement that program as a supplement, they chose Gizmos. This is an online platform designed to enhance science instruction for middle school students with a focus on exploration, experimentation, and data analysis. By integrating gizmos into our curriculum, we aim to deepen student understanding and engagement through interactive technology-driven experiences. The next one is Newsela. Newsela Science is a digital platform designed to support middle school science instruction by providing high-quality, standards-aligned nonfiction articles. And they want to incorporate Newsela Science into their curriculum too, with an aim to enhance student engagement and support differentiated learning and connect science topics to current events and real-world events. And then Vernier is basically just a company that they're going to go to where they request some science equipment to enhance their science labs. The focus for middle school was to really ramp up the hands-on lab experiences and student engagement in science. At the high school level, this is Paradise Creek. Our science teacher, Matt Pollard, chose to adopt biology textbooks, forensic science textbooks, which by the way, are not easy to find, entomology, intro into forestry, and environmental science. And at the high school, chose to adopt a chemistry textbook, an AP chemistry textbook, human anatomy and physiology, earth and space, science, conceptual physical science, or physics, physics textbook. Next slide, please. And then biology and AP biology, I believe he said it's actually an honors biology course. And then also they had a list of ancillary items because they needed those as well for their labs, so additional science equipment, and they're really happy this year. So thank you, Jen, for working with me. We partner in trying to put together a budget and estimate what the needs will be, and they were really happy that they got to get new lab materials and equipment so that they could really do more hands-on stuff, because those things do get worn out, especially after 6 years of use with students, and some of the lab equipment they have is older than 6 years. So that's it. That wraps up my presentation, and I'm going to move to the background information and say that the content area obviously up for adoption this year is science. Textbooks were reviewed. They used an evaluation tool to do that. The new science curricula were selected for the middle school and high school levels, as elementary schools chose to continue their current science curriculum. We are recommending that these textbook selections for science be approved. The cost for the science adoption came to $262,554.
I have a question about Newsela. So it's like could help connect science to current events. And there's a way to ensure that those current events articles meet the standards by which we are held in our unique state, even if it's a national product.
Right. Well, teachers will be making that decision and selection. So obviously
they select. It's not like the students will just have open access.
It is a resource, and it ties in. It ties in reading, and I mean, it actually supports other content areas. It's going to be a nice fit to support kids with ELA, research, writing, that kind of thing too. So
I was just imagining it as like a modified news engine, but that's not the way it is. This is like the teachers are still gonna make sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so I see where the high school had a committee, and were there parents on that committee?
Yes, there were, and
That's right.
and it shows in your board docs too. And I should also explain.
Yeah.
We did have. I thought maybe I had you end that slide early. I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's okay. So there were two other slides. One that said that the content that has been selected does align with our standards, our state standards. And the last slide, and I apologize for that, talked about our committees and how we were meeting that HVAC 33 was it 35 or 33?
I gotta pull it
512.
back up, but-
I'll pull it up on mine so I can look at it. Which basically says that
33-512A
Yes.
is the state code.
Yep. It says that for our middle school and high school science adoption committee, since they were adopting new curriculum, we had to put together a committee of parents and teachers where at least one half were parents of children who reside and attend school in our district, and one half were teachers. And the middle school and science and high school committees approved those requested science selections, and it was unanimous at both. So we got a lot of great feedback. I was sick. I got influenza B and was running a fever, and Sean said, please don't share. And so Terry Summers took over, and they had a PowerPoint for their parents, and they did a presentation for them, and I heard that the meeting was amazing, and the parents were really excited, and there was a unanimous yes vote for that, for all of the content that they've requested. And then I did get to attend the high school adoption committee meeting, and I always loved their feedback. I truly feel, although other school districts, we've heard other school districts that maybe haven't had such, positive outcomes, but it has only enhanced this whole adoption process. They come with great ideas, and it can be simple things like, do you have a flow chart that would help me guide my child in making selections for what their next science course should be, at the high school level, or something like that. Or just expressing how much they appreciate. Like, they were very positive about how much they appreciated the positive hands-on science experience that they felt like their children were having at the high school. So for that committee meeting and stuff. So I have loved it, and they all voted unanimously to adopt the textbooks. Each teacher spoke on their textbooks. The parents had an opportunity to review them. They took the time, they were passing them around. Teachers were sharing why they selected the books that they selected. And yeah, it was really well received. It was a great meeting.
And so, I'm assuming all departments at the high school were represented: physics, chemistry, biology.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. If a teacher was adopting a textbook, they were present. So, and that's how we kind of build our committee, because if I have 6 teachers that are asking to adopt curriculum, then we know we've got to have 6 parents too, at a minimum.
And was the middle school committee was not on that PDF?
I didn't add that.
But that was similarly large, 12?
No, it would have had the same number of teachers, so there are 4. I believe all 4 were there, and I can send you the minutes. I didn't add those, so I apologize. And then they had an equal number of parents on that committee as well.
And then at the elementary, we're not bound by the same
No,
parental?
because you've already approved the curriculum at the last science adoption. You had already approved it, so it doesn't
So it is
have to
board
be.
approved.
It doesn't need to be approved a second time. We're just continuing to use it.
But had they wanted a new one, then
Then we would have had an
parents
elementary
again.
committee as well.
Committee
Correct.
makeup, yeah.
Good questions.
Well, I will move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District Number 281 hereby approves the purchase of textbooks and materials for the K-12 science adoption for $262,554.
Second?
Been moved and seconded, further discussion?
Just in terms of the budget, Jen, this fell within what we had thought it would be?
Less than.
How much less?
I think this year it was 350.
Right, so this is a large pot of money, but also if a teacher says, I've got 10 extra students, I need 10 extra books. So it's not just
That's right.
for this, it's for other things as well. But we still had, and I'm just roughly estimating, but we had almost $50,000 left over after this adoption. That's where it should shake out to be.
Nice. Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Moving on to second reading, school district calendar.
So you have the school district calendar again. Is that draft 1A is the direction the committee went. Really, there's nothing drastic in here. This is the course that the district has been on for at least the last several years. It's the 3-4-5 rolling start. It's approximately the same start date. The University of Idaho this year starts on the 25th, just to make you aware of that. We would start on the 27th. It does incorporate the change. We used to always, the one change from 2 years ago is that we used to have the early October had 2 days. Now that's only 1, and we've moved that day to May, which we would continue. We haven't had that day this year to really get feedback on it, but we would continue that. Effectively, everything else in here is the same. You get your 2-week winter break, a week for Thanksgiving break, and spring break that is aligned with the university. Slightly later this year than,
It's a week later.
Yep. But it's because the U of I really, everything got, it was like tick, 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 and this is the snapback this year. So this is as late as it gets for us right now. Spring break is something that I think will come up in continued conversation, just to kind of put on your radar. This doesn't make that change, but it did come up with that committee. I'm willing to explore it a little more. I think I would want more than just a committee. I would want to kind of survey parents to see. I think there's pros and cons. There is no doubt we were the earliest spring break in the state of Idaho, even compared to the Treasure Valley, which gets out in the middle of May. We were a week ahead of them. And now is when most school districts regionally, including Pullman and Washington schools, are on spring break. So we were 2 weeks ahead of that. But this is uniquely Moscow. So,
And as long as it came up in the meeting, the 4-day school week, do you have numbers on the percent of Idaho schools that are 4-day?
more than
Is
half
this-
of districts,
I remember.
And we're kind of ticked past the, as far as around here and districts similar size, I would say larger districts have been slower to do it.
Yeah.
But there are some. Post Falls is probably our nearest large district. And they have, I've had conversations with their superintendent, Dina Nacarado, and it's been nothing but positive feedback from them. They did not feel like it impacted their scores. Matter of fact, last year, they were a school district up north that got a shout out for their reading scores. They've had they feel like some success with it.
What do parents do with their children?
I don't know. One thing I would say, I don't know.
What?
Obviously,
I
something
don't
gets
know.
worked out.
They
It's an
figure it out.
it's
So
an
I guess
adventure
one thing I would
like-
say is you do not. I have not talked to anybody who went to a 4-day week and then had parents come back like clamoring for like we didn't figure it out is what I would say. So
Yeah, they
there's-
always figure it out.
There's
but even
so
to the
far,
point
no
where I would
school
say,
district that's wanted to go back.
yeah, where they're not beating down the door of the board and saying like, no, this is not working. Seriously, we've had to make all these. I don't know. I some of it to me is like I don't know that I've seen a good study on this, but like, is it that high school students who are now free on that day are now more able to help out with childcare? Like, is that part of it? Do other private entities pick up and at the expense, or a Head Start or other other places like that pick up? Do kids just end up behind a locked door?
Do you do
We're getting in
a
trouble.
Friday adventure club now as opposed to
Yeah, I mean, then
after
is the school still making a lot of effort to
Definitely.
cover?
And I would say that's my opinion, and I've expressed my opinion before about my quick note is as soon as the basketball and football coach tell me 4 days a week is good enough for practice, then I'll believe it, right? But I think the data is mixed on academic performance at best. You can find data that will argue in both directions. I think I would believe that it's probably how a district implements it. Some things like, and then again, you're not saving money, right? It's if you did like Adventure Club or had Friday school every week, or you made students come on Friday, or you, like some districts say, you commit to having only athletic events on Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights. And you as a board say like, no, Tuesday nights. You're not going to Sandpoint on a Tuesday night. We're not getting out early to go to a track meet. We're going to protect Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes some of those things they work together, and all of those decisions make it either successful or not. But again, I don't know where the kids go. I do know on the other side is that I've not heard one story of a district that's gone back.
And it's argued by a lot that it helps with teacher recruitment.
Definitely that.
So,
I'm sure.
but you give
Sean,
them
do
4
you
days a
mind-
week, and then they can work another job, second job, is what it mainly means. So.
I'm not an expert by any means, but the district I was at prior to Moscow was a 4-day school district. And you do a lot of planning
Yep.
prior to a launch like that, and the community amazingly comes together. So they built a high school student activity center that was managed and, by somebody at all times where kids could go and hang out and play games. And then they developed some youth activities too, much probably like Adventure Club. So you build it, knowing what's coming, you prepare for that. Some of the positives that came out of it were your teachers had more time on Fridays because they still came to work to do collaboration and some really in-depth professional learning communities could really thrive there and look at student achievement and do more of that type of a thing. But also it's an opportunity for students who need to come in and get a little additional work. Not every school maybe does this, but that's available too, where you've got teachers available, kids need some extra time, they can come in and do that. And in our district, when we looked at the data, and I was largely one of those people, that was one of my jobs, is to really look at the achievement data, we really didn't notice a negative or a positive. We kind of stayed the same, but it's oddly amazing how it just works out. A lot of families start to feel like they're having more family time, and it does help with sports. So the only negative I ever worried about were our special needs students on IEPs. I think academic retention over a 3-day period is probably, a concern, but then you address those needs as well too, so. Anyway, just from my own experience.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I worry that we have a lot of things we need our community to build, and adding another set of things we would ask them to build seems challenging. And I just know, coming from the daycare sphere, we have
It's-
like a 300-seat deficit in daycare right now for kids who can't go to school.
It's not a decision you just make.
I
You
understand,
have
but
to do
Brian
a
brought it
lot
up,
of
so we're gonna
research
talk about
before
it.
you do it. Yeah.
I think we have staff that's interested in it. I worked 1 year as a teacher in a 4-year district, and I never felt, so I think sometimes this adds to the overall performance. I never felt so well prepared as I did that year on a 4-day week to be with students and just kind of manage life. Like I wasn't coming in on, that Sunday night dread. And so I think there was that can be an advantage. In America, we are so focused on if we're paying a teacher, we're gonna squeeze blood out of that turnip, and every second they need to be in front of a kid, not recognizing sometimes we miss the professional nature of teaching and that, prepping and developing yourself. We try to do things like that, but probably more than a lot of other countries, where it's if we're paying you to be a teacher, then you're going to be in front of kids all the time. And I think even our universities don't do that as much, right? You get time to prep and learn and grow and be ready to serve your students. Not in K-12. It's no, we got a kindergartner waiting for you. You need to be in there with a Kleenex. So there's that balance too that I've found, but again, I've made clear where I'm at. I do think overall there would be an argument of there are other districts that are going to 4-day week. Lewiston is not, Moscow is not, none of the other really surrounding small schools for us. We're in a little bit of a bubble. Troy is 5-day, Genesee is 5-day, Potlatch is still 5-day. We're 5-day, Lewiston's 5-day. Right here in this Latah County, Kendrick even, Latah County schools are still 5-day. It doesn't take very far to go to Lewis County or Idaho County, where almost every single one of them is a 4-day week now. I think, Nez Perce and Cottonwood. are the only two on that Camas Prairie down there that have remained with a 5-day. I would say they happen to be the two highest performing, districts down there, down that direction, but.
We might wanna look outside Idaho, for examples.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mean to sidetrack us, but we only talked about it briefly. I was wondering if it's an inevitability in 10 years, for all the reasons you mentioned. It's good to keep it in the conversation, at least once a year.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so do I have a motion?
Yes. go
Okay,
on.
that the Board of Trustees of Musco School District number 281 hereby approves the 2025-26 school year calendar.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Moving on to item C, second reading, homework.
I think this one doesn't have edits, right? This is just.
No,
the-
this is, it had edits
Yes.
from the first one, this is with those from the first.
Right, there's no other
Yes.
changes or edits, so.
I was a little confused because there's an intermediate and 6th grade is included in that, and then there's middle school, but it doesn't say anything about 6th grade and middle school. It's 50.3, but it's not a big deal, I guess.
I actually don't think we made edits to this. I think this was as presented for board review,
I think
but,
so.
yeah. Or you think we did make
No,
edits?
there were edits. And this was reviewed by Kendra, and I can't remember the other two administrators.
Oh,
This
it's
is what
okay.
they came
No,
up with.
It's okay with me.
I think we're okay.
I was just wondering.
But we definitely could look at it again.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion, and if we don't wanna go with it. The Board of Trustees of Musco School District number 281 hereby approves the revisions to section 6, instruction, board policy range, 6050 to 6059 homework.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Moving on to item D, second reading, student and family privacy.
Yeah, this we moved it to a new section. Obviously, a lot of this is, we had already made some changes in my tenure here around surveys. So those had come to you before, but this has kind of the survey information to be in line with Idaho law regarding the survey of students. Also just some standard notification of parental rights and procedures like in 60.70. Collection of personal information of students for marketing is prohibited. That stuff has actually stayed the same. But really the big move here is that we moved it into its own new section called student and family privacy rights.
I will move that the Board of Trustees of Musco School District number 281 approve the revisions to section 6, instruction, board policy range, 6060 to 6074, student and family privacy rights.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, further discussion?
Yeah, sorry, I had, so, okay, 6060.40,
Okay.
right? We're talking about, this whole thing is about students, and then you get to the bottom part, the student's parent or guardian may at any point, like B is refuse to allow their child to participate. But if that child is 18, is that really valid? Should we include this? Any student under 18, the student's parent or guardian may at any point, comma, if the student is below 18, right? Because
Yeah.
an
So-
18-year-old student could.
Yes. I think legally, the way that interpretation is that even if they're 18, if they're attending a 612 school, as long as they're living under the parent's home and not otherwise emancipated, that the parent would, even though they're 18. So like my son Owen is 18, still have that parental right, unless the student specifically extracts themselves from that right, which they can do as an 18-year-old. But they would have to do that, otherwise we assume that the parent would have that legal right to do that.
Okay, because the very last sentence then is the rights provided to parents, guardians in this policy transfer to the student when the student
No.
turns 18 years of age, or
Where's that
is-
at?
Are you reading that?
Very last
60.7, item E.
E
but maybe
Oh,
that covered,
yeah.
that, having that
should be covered.
in there,
Yeah,
I guess covers
cleans
it.
it up too, yeah.
Yeah, because that part applies to everything.
I know, it just,
So 60.70 talks about notification, and that applies to all of the other ones above it.
well, does it, yeah, but is it is 60.70E only referring to 60.70?
No.
Or is it referring to,
It's referring to all of 60/60.
Yeah.
got it,
It's
Yeah.
it covers it.
Yeah, it covers everything above it.
got it.
And basically, the language going back up to that B is to say that even if they gave consent, if the parent comes in and this is in line with law, so even if they signed that consent, and then the day of the assessment, you're like actively, or the survey, you're taking the survey, the parents can be like, come in and say, I refuse to allow them to participate, and we would honor that.
Yeah.
Yep. So at any point, they can revoke. And that language is specific in the law.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, passes 5-0. So second reading, first reading? It's not second reading. Academic freedom and responsibility.
So where this really moves us along is if you get down to the generative AI, 6083 is the new piece there primarily. This policy is still, it's our first attempt at policy around generative AI. We've already done some polling around our staff about AI tools, but we'll begin to implement this with the idea that we would be kind of fully implemented by the start of the new school year. But that is the new section around generative AI and the use of generative AI by staff and students. So it's that the section of 6083.0, 1, and 0.1 and 0.2.
We had a comment that was sent by email. But I think it says that the student may be asked to demonstrate,
Yeah.
not has to.
Yeah, I got that question too, and it is may. I mean, the feeling was like every time you chat, if it came up as cheating, that you'd automatically have to give them an alternate assignment or some other way to assess it.
Yeah.
Really, one of the challenges, I've worked very closely with Jennifer Lynn on this. AI detectors are good, but they are limited. We have documented experiences where a teacher drafted something and it came back as, 100% AI and so we have to have, it can be really quick to assume, like AI is so tricky, if I get the AI detector to detect it as AI, it's boom, you were cheating, everything is, and you get a 0 on everything. But the fact of the matter is AI detection is not perfect. And so it is prone to errors, and we have to be able to have some way to say like we don't know. And of course, every student's like vape or other ways that you get in trouble. Like the first story you hear is like, I didn't do it. There's some cases where it's very easy to prove it. There's other cases where we're really difficult, and these are like heavy consequences for kids. And the idea is that we might be able to say, okay, all right, we'll assume you're telling the truth, but let's find another way to prove that maybe it's taking a oral quiz about your submission. Maybe it's other ways to kind of verify whether it was actually cheating or not. The harsh, I think we're gonna have to be careful to say the harsh, well, an AI detector said it was AI.
So are we changing wording?
No.
No, it's just pointing out
Okay,
Yeah, it's not must.
that it
Yes.
says
May.
it allows for that.
And I noticed a typo, so.
In the
I'll fix
paragraph
it.
right above it, yeah, okay, that's the only one I saw.
It's funny how you look at that thing so many times and you don't notice it, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden
no,
it just pops out at you.
I deal with AI on a regular basis in my classes because they write a lot. And I've already had this semester 7 students get zeros on assignments because they used AI. And they have to come in and talk with me and we discuss it and are they really using AI or not? And then I decide if I'm failing them for the semester or not. So,
I'm sorry, tell me again, Sean, how that you anticipate this being rolled out?
I think that as we move forward, just communicating with staff this policy and what our expectations are. You know, one of the big ones is that it doesn't require us to, but we will begin to build kind of an approved list of AI that's kind of met that district, and Jennifer Lynn's gonna be helping with that. And that's why we surveyed staff right now to start putting together this list of potential, Magic School is one that a lot of districts are using.
And then the teachers in their classrooms will educate students on appropriate use.
Yeah.
That's the
I think
sort of
that's,
like the method.
I
by
think
which
that's
students
already
are-
happening
Okay.
in a lot of places, but yes.
I kind of forget, I'm sorry, is there something about AI in the student handbook now?
Not really.
Okay.
It's most of our AI focus has been around we did in the internet use agreement.
Okay,
So that might be what you're remembering, but it was primarily focused on academic dishonesty.
yeah, okay,
Completely. This starts to build on that
okay.
and starts to lay out some other, almost in a positive direction. Here are some ways that AI can be utilized,
Okay.
as opposed to if you use AI to cheat,
You're out.
you're gonna get a 0 on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is still true. This doesn't change that. If you're using, if you're representing somebody or something's work without you doing it and you're representing it as coming from you, that's academic dishonesty.
Okay. I will move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District Number 281 hereby approves the revisions of Section 6 Instruction Board Policy Range 6080 to 6084. I'm in the right place, right? Yeah. Academic freedom and responsibility.
Second.
been moved and seconded, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. Second reading, job description, behavior intervention.
Don't really have any other additional comments. This is specific to in-home care
Right.
for a behavior intervention.
So would this person also do in-school things?
Yeah, potentially. What this allows me to do as a superintendent is create a different pay scale for somebody who we're asking to go into a home versus somebody who is performing similar services but in school with other people around and support. So just it separates it so we can create a different pay scale for those. This does not happen very often, and this would not be hired as like a full-time job. It's saying if you need to spend an hour or two in that in-home setting, there'll be a slightly different pay.
Great. I'll move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District Number 281 hereby approves the job description for a behavior intervention paraprofessional in-home services.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye, passes 5-0. New job description, community schools coordinator.
This is just preparing, this is the final step as we get this community schools grant rolling. These are the two positions that will be one at the middle school, one at the high school. And we've worked with the Community Schools Coalition to develop these job descriptions, and I recommend their adoption.
So are these admin positions or?
They're not, they're in-building positions, not admin positions.
Because there's no section at the end that says terms of employment. Is that unusual?
Yeah, it is.
These are classified positions. Are we missing that?
Okay, so we don't
Oh.
have that.
They're.
Yeah, it's so if it's
They're-
classified. it
These
would
are
be-
classified positions, not certified positions.
Yeah, it says that in 17.1, it's an at-will position.
Yeah, it's at will, yes.
Community,
Where?
and
17.1. Under terms of employment, it says it's an at-will position, so that's classified.
Attend regular training.
Are you looking at the right one?
Or
Oh,
17.1.
Oops, sorry. Got them out of order.
Last thing on there is other duties as.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, it's missing that whole section. So, yeah, so we'll have to add that. I don't know that Michaela knew to put that in there. See, this whole section here has to
Oh,
be
yeah.
in terms of employment.
Oh, I just missed it.
So I'll add it. Thanks, Don, for catching that.
It is an at-will position.
Okay.
Classified, yeah. Be paid we plan to pay hourly.
These would be these are not added on job duties. This is new hires.
These are
Presumably.
These are
New
hires.
positions,
Yep, new
yeah.
positions.
when the grant money comes in. Yeah.
Understood.
So two questions, one, is Brian's job CTE coordinator, or
Both.
or is?
His his will be a district district community school coordinator, which is what you approved last year. This just is community school coordinator. These would be the site-based ones.
Yeah. No, I realize. So what's the rationale for making this report to either or, the CTE coordinator or the building principal?
I mean, I just think we talked about like
Flexibility.
eliminating the building principal part. The plan is they will report to Brian.
Yeah.
They're grant funded positions that will exist as long as we have the grant. But our default one says building principal because they are assigned to the building.
Yeah.
And so when Michaela and I worked on this, it was like, well, I don't see any need to strip out the building principal. It just gives us that much more flexibility to say you're either going to do one or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
So will the terms of employment read the same as the previous
Yes.
one? So we can go ahead
Yes.
and pass this one?
Okay, I guess, so with that added piece of information, I move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District number 281 hereby approves the job description for Community Schools Coordinator. Do I have to add in as? No.
No, it was just
Got
a
Yep.
mistake that it wasn't put in the document that was on here.
Second.
So,
It's been
Who said the
moved.
second, Bob?
Seconded.
been moved and seconded, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. All right, moving on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District number 281 hereby approves all items listed under the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Second. Oh, did somebody?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped your second. So Don.
Don, you were so ready.
I'm sorry. I'm moving fast here. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So it passes 5-0. No second comment period because we have no thing. And so the public portion of the meeting doesn't end or does
You
it?
have to go into
We have to go
executive
call
session
executive session again with a roll call?
because this is a separate executive session than the one we had earlier.
Okay,
They're nested.
They're
okay.
nested, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I
All
will
right.
move that the Board of Trustees of Moscow School District number 281 retire into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061J to consider labor contract matters authorized under 74-206A1A and B of Idaho Code.
Second.
But we're still in our executive session for the,
Well, it's
Other purpose?
suspended.
Once this, it was paused, because we had to go to this
Okay.
meeting, you'll have this event. And then when this meeting is all over, it ends the regular board meeting, then you resume your previous.
okay.
Right.
Because they're for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right, so it's
that's
a
what I was
different
wondering.
one.
Okay.
It's a different one. Okay, so
We gotta do this every day.
moved and seconded, so roll call vote, please.
Trustee Funds,
Yes?
trustee Christine Lark,
Yes.
trustee Kennedy. Trustee Fazio.
Yes.
Trustee Frenzel, sorry, I
Yes.
just worked on me.
All right, so now we're moving into executive session, so thank you and get out. No.
Run.
Does anybody need
Thank
to
you
take a
for
bathroom
coming.
break?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's.
I just wanna say, I will be out of town next week for
Oh,
the
we're not, are we off?
accreditation, so
Okay.
We'll miss you.
so, yeah, Carrie, I'm sorry.